everybody. Thank you for coming. Just a quick curiosity, who has Digital Commons? Does anybody have it here, or are you thinking about getting it as your repository? You do have it. Digital Commons? That's what I figured. Okay, thank you. Again, I'm Karen Rams, and I work at Montclair State University in the United States, in New Jersey. And our talk is going to be about how we are integrating the information we have in Pure. We just got Pure about less than a year ago, and we want to put it into Digital Commons. So we were looking at, since it's an Elsevier product, both of them, how can we have the solution? Because having two repositories, on one research platform, can make things a little bit difficult, and you want to keep both of them very robust with your data, so you can showcase to the world what you're doing. So. The wonderful folks at BPress came up with this solution, and we are one of the first beta-tested universities that this is happening with, and we wanted to share with you along the way what's been happening. So we got Digital Commons in 2016, so we've had it for about almost a little over 2 years. It's been working wonderfully. We absolutely love the product. And in 2018, we became part of the Research with New Jersey initiatives. Now, this is a community portal through Pure. We're part of 6 research universities in New Jersey. We were invited to be onto this portal as well. And as a part of Pure, we were also able to start our own another portal called Research with Montclair. So as you can see, we have 3 different outlets here that we have to manage. We wanted to see how can these 2 portals talk to each other. And we also adopted Scopus, which is also very helpful with Digital Commons, with Pure, and both the portals. Now, I'll just say a little quickly about Montclair State University. It's been around since 1908. We are a university. We became university status in 1994. We have over 21,000 students. We are considered a high-level research activity university in the United States, and that means a lot to us having these portals because you want to showcase what you're doing, especially when you are a high research activity university. And we are also a public research university recognized by our state of New Jersey. And we're about 12 miles from New York City, so if you're wondering where is Montclair and where in New Jersey are we are North Jersey, and we are not too far away from the big city. Quickly about myself, I'm a research and project specialist in the library. I'm not a librarian. I am more of an administrative person. And I also manage Pure. I'm a liaison with Research with New Jersey, and I manage Digital Commons as well. I sit on a lot of university committees, so I get to hear a lot of feedback from our faculty, from our administrators. How can we make these systems work with each other? How can we utilize them in the future? So my role is very helpful. And then Simone can tell you a little bit about herself as well.
So, hello, Simone Polgar from BPress in Berkeley, California. BPress produces Digital Commons as well as Expert Gallery Suite. And my focus there as a product manager is primarily on content ingestion and related workflows and features. So what we're talking about today is distinctly about content ingestion and harvesting. I've been working with Karen on that, and we will go into the next slide. So when I talk about this beta and this integration, it's really all about literally taking a record from Pure, a work record, and not necessarily an author profile or a researcher profile, I should say, and creating its counterpart in Digital Commons. I know there's a lot of text here, but what I'm showing here is just a quick illustration of how a work can coexist across platforms. And once ingested into Digital Commons, becomes part of the greater collection. One of the key reasons why an ingestion like this is of value for our shared customers is because in a repository, the main goal is often to showcase as much research output as possible, but also alongside other collections like student works, ETDs, even art produced by the institution. So that is one of the key reasons why we would want to work towards this and beta test it. So we'll definitely go into more details about how we did that and what the future looks like for how to further automate something like this, and talk a bit more about our relationship with Pure. But before that, I'm going to give this back to Karen so she can talk more about how Montclair is using Digital Commons as well as Pure, and how the platforms can work together symbiotically.
Thank you. Okay, now Digital Commons serves as our institutional repository. So with our institutional repository, we are able to put up everything that the university produces. So it's all scholarly works, whether you're an administrator, whether you're faculty, it could be annual reports. It really does, it has a lot more capability than Pure. I know Pure is mostly limited to faculty research in our institution, whereas the Commons is more that we can even put up video clips. So if there's something artistic going on at the university, performance, we could put it up there as well. So we look at it as a tool to really disseminate all the scholarly output that's happening at Montclair State globally around the world, locally in our community, and for faculty collaboration and administrator collaboration as well. That's just a quick view of what it looks like, our Digital Commons. And a little bit of bragging rights here. We have over 5,000 works posted, and we are at over 35,000 downloads, but I think we're close to like over 36 now. It changes constantly. I mean, the downloads, once you start aggregating downloads in the beginning, it just starts snowballing and snowballing and snowballing, the effect of it. So, having these two research platforms, we have ResearchwithNJ, and then, of course, Research with Montclair is our own. So ResearchwithNJ we share with these 6 other universities. So it's all these universities, we aggregate the research happening. So if you're an outside industry and you want to see what's happening in the state of New Jersey, or you're interested in some kind of an innovative research going on, you can type in keywords, and of course it'll bring up the other universities as well as ours. Now with Research with Montclair, that's our own portal, so it's only our research in there. It's not the other universities. So we control that. We control the what goes into it, and we administer that one. The state one is actually run by the state of New Jersey, so they administer everything that happens with that one. And that's what Research with Montclair looks like. So they're kind of almost similar in the way that they look, but this one is just really, it's research output, grants and projects, faculty driven. So it's only active faculty that are at Montclair State for this one. This is the Pure, yes, that's our Pure portal. And I think Simone's going to get into the beta.
So the primary goal of the beta is to prove out that we can produce a robust system of institutional records by populating Digital Commons with Pure records. And this is one way of maximizing the visibility of the institution's output through Digital Commons. Like Karen just showed you, currently they have almost 6,000 records in their Digital Commons right now. And one of the things that we surfaced during this beta was that there are about 6,000 eligible records for ingestion, which would nearly double their repository. And we're also really interested in being able to demonstrate cross-platform interoperability, especially since we're all Elsevier companies and there is a degree of expected interoperability between all of the different platforms. So going forward, once we continue with the beta, we're going to go ahead and continue to ingest deltas, but in the long term, when we have our greater comprehensive harvesting solution, this will be a way for our Digital Commons customers to identify new full-text content and or metadata records that they can add to their IR as they become available, or as the admins are ready to add new content. Right now, the workflow for most of our Digital Commons admins for adding new content to Digital Commons at scale, it's a bit fractured across platforms. And so in order to cut down on this duplicative work, this integration is another way of proving that we can work toward that easily and produce some value for our shared customers. So in the case of Montclair State, they had another objective that relates back to a greater goal of theirs that I'm going to let Karen speak to again.
Yeah, we have our strategic plan for the university coming out, and it's going to be until 2025. And one of the things that we really are highlighting in our strategic plan is research. So having these platforms, we were offered the Research with Montclair platform because of the partnership with the state of New Jersey. So that kind of just came about. We didn't just purchase it on our own at that point. But now we've decided we want to keep both of them because they really do give us a vehicle to highlight and promote what we're doing. And they both have great capabilities, both these platforms. And with Pure, we can actually see pretty much live time, like where things are being tweeted out, our professors' works, and they love that. Professors love to promote everything that they do, we know that. And I think I am going to... So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our stakeholders at the university. So with both systems, we had to identify who are the most important people internally that have to be aware of everything going on. And actually, when I came up with the plan for both of them, I realized that it's pretty much all the same stakeholders. So that's a good thing to start out with. The library, we are the ones, we have an internal committee in the library, and we manage the repository. So it's a group of librarians, because when you upload content into Digital Commons, we have a fail-safe method of the librarian team will look at it and say, okay, everything looks right, the metadata, there's, it's in the right place. We're not the content police. We're not, academic freedom. They're allowed to put up what they want to put up, but we're just making sure that everything looks okay with it, so we say okay. Now with Pure, the Vice Provost of Research is the one that oversees that. I manage it. That comes from Scopus. So what I do is I work with our HR department, make sure that our faculty that are in there are active, and our departments are, because departments always combine and things happen at universities. I make sure that that is active, and then we pull the data from Scopus and put it right up into there. And so that's, faculty cannot upload on their own, and that's the big difference. If you work at Montclair State and you have an ID to get into the computer system, you can do Digital Commons and upload items. Pure, you cannot. It's through the back end, and then we just manage it to make sure that any kind of data that we pull looks okay. And I think Simone's going to talk a little bit now about the communication.
So what we did for this beta was we worked directly with Pure, primarily Thomas Gurney and team, to surface the content that we needed for ingestion. We mapped it to the Digital Commons schema and began an ingestion process with oversight by Karen and some input by the committee, by the Digital Commons Committee at Montclair. So we moved cautiously. We set up a demo site so that we could review the metadata and records that were being created alongside Karen. And that's, of course, inherent to the beta. You want to produce learnings and see where we can improve, ultimately, and have a smoothly running integration in the future when it becomes available at scale. So we definitely learned that that a review process, just like any other content submission process, would have to likely exist, at least through the duration of this beta, but definitely with the goal of our admins being able to maintain control of the metadata and see things as they're coming in and easily manage the metadata itself. So one of the things that we would advise as a best practice for any shared customers who would participate in a beta like this or otherwise ingest Pure records into Digital Commons was something that Karen masterminded at Montclair, which was in anticipation of doing this when they were setting up their Pure instance. They made sure that it was structured similarly, primarily by department and institutional affiliation or schools. And I'm sure that's inherent to most of these platforms, but it was still really good to be mindful of it because the way that the ingestion process works is that it benefits by being able to consolidate content into its collections by department, and it will ease the workflow in that sense, at least in the early stages. And we continued to collect feedback throughout the beta and are continuing to do so. As I mentioned before, we discovered that there were over 6,000 eligible records in Pure, and this was, well, being fed from Scopus, of course, but within less than a year of having a Pure instance, this is what was available, which was a nice discovery. So in addition to just generally enjoying a great working relationship with Pure teams and with Montclair, we considered the beta overall a success, and we're continuing to run a parallel track to ingest further content. But some of the things that surfaced, the challenges were just some metadata disagreements, like author affiliations, inconsistent links out to sources, citation data, text formatting as these records move from one platform to another. Just these things that the Digital Commons team would like to be aware of so that we can resolve them for the future, and it will inform a product that does this. And naturally, there was the discovery of a few duplicates, but that's also something that we anticipated and seek to solve for in a more automated way in the future. So the results so far of the beta is that we've populated the linguistics collection at Montclair, and what is anticipated from Montclair is that in addition to the beta itself actually building their repository with content, and archiving content for researchers that are no longer featured on Pure, that going forward we're going to be able to fill gaps. We're going to be able to enhance repository performance by virtue of the fact that the IR is being built up. And as part of our next steps, we'll talk a little bit about how that can be tracked. But yeah, so I've mentioned a few times a harvesting platform. This early beta is meant for longer-term roadmap items that would create a feature within Digital Commons that would allow for a highly automated version of retrieving content from other platforms and solving for things like metadata mapping and duplicates. And happy to talk to anyone about that after this. So on the Montclair side, I will let Karen talk about the remaining next steps and end on that note.
I know we're pressed for time, so I'll just quickly go over what we're going to do. I'm looking at the data as it comes in, so they're sending me Excel files right now. I'm kind of just eyeballing it and then they ingest it up into the proper area. And what I want to do is run some Google Analytics from when we have something up there, from the day that we put it up there until, say, 6 months out, to see if it's really trending since last year, that same time period. I wanted to see more analytically, how's it working? Are people really noticing it? Is more of this content really catching the eyes of the world on what we're doing? But overall, it's been a really good process. The team at bPress has been wonderful working with. And you know, I'm excited about what's with the future with the beta version as we go along, especially the harvesting button, because we all love harvesting buttons. It made life so much easier on everybody's end. But you know, thank you. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer.
Yes. Do I understand correctly that Digital Commons is the basis for you, and from there you extract information, the metadata, to Pure for the portal?
It's the other way around. It's going from Pure into Digital Commons, but I think Simone could fill you in. I think there's going to be one going back the other way as well eventually, another beta.
Yeah, what I'm working on is, data from Pure into Digital Commons. There is another product manager who's exploring the possibility of of the reverse.
So you start with Scopus, and then you put it in Pure,
Yes.
and then you put it in Digital Commons.
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
And our Pure is Scopus based. That's where we get all of our information first. We haven't even had it a year yet, Pure, so what we're working on now is, excuse me, adding additional databases to Pure as well, because I know we can do PubMed and everything else, so we will end up adding those.
You spoke at Digital Commons about a repository solution, and it's really a great solution for digital humanities and some of the fields that are a little neglected by STEM fields, right? So
Yes.
it's a little more balanced. The question I had, are you using some of the other features of Digital Commons, like the publication platform for student research or graduate research? Because I think that's kind of a key thing that a lot of universities use. I'm just curious as to whether Montclair...
Yeah, it has a lot of capabilities, Digital Commons. We do use it for publishing, and we're trying to really grow that part of it more than ever. So we do have faculty who are interested in starting journals and newsletters. We have a few up there. I encourage you to go visit our site and take a look around. Student research is something that we're really starting to grow as well. We have a student research symposium that we do every year, and we have a separate home for that, a community for that, and we're starting to build that years prior as well and populate. So it's very archival, the Digital Commons. Pure is much more, like I said, it's current faculty and their current research. You know, it goes back, I'm not even sure how many years, but it goes back quite a bit through Scopus. But the Commons, you know, even if we have faculty emeriti who are going to be putting in there, our previous faculty, and showcasing their works too as well. So it's really is archival purpose.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused of why you would want two places where you showcase your research. Isn't that very confusing for the audience to know where do I find my publications?
Yes.
And the second thing is we have a Fedora repository, also with a front end. And I would very much like that to be a dark archive, more like, you know. But one of the main problems we have is synchronization. So I hear you want to feed back the data from Digital Commons to Pure. I think that's going to be complicated. We struggle a lot with this, especially if you allow full text or files, whatever, uploaded in Digital Commons. So how would that translate into Pure? Will you not take those? Or?
There's no full text downloads in Pure right now, so it's a research of record for us, but Commons does allow full text downloads and video clips and so on and so forth. You know, people always ask me, how can you have two? How can you manage two? What does it do? Promotion is good no matter what you do. So if you have two platforms and people are finding information on either one of them, that's what's important to us, because we really want to showcase what we're doing. And I said that Commons is, yes, more humanities-based. We allow everyone at the university to upload. Our Pure system is STEM-based, so it's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So that's a little bit more, you're kind of pigeonholed into that for just Pure. So for us, it's good to have both, because if you want to look up something artistic that we've done, our Google Analytics, Google search engine will send you right to our Commons with it. You know, so promotion is good. You know, it's hard to manage both, I'll be honest with you, but not in a sense that you can't. I mean.
And then also the archival use case.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more thanks.